Dag sê, dankie en welkom by nog 'n uitsending van Kletskompas. Vandag is die 1 Mei, dit is Werkersdag en ek hoop al my medewerkers wêreldwyd en veral hier in Namibië 'n voorspoedige, lekker, rustige dag. Ons het 'n lekker program vir u vandag met 'n lang onderhoud met Mahongora Kavihuha. Hy is die sekretaris-generaal van die Vakbondkongres van Namibië, TUCNA. En ons sal lekker bespreek die toestand van werkers hier in Namibië, die vooruitsig en miskien van die uitdagings wat ons almal in die gesig staar. So bly by ons en baie dankie.
Welcome to Namibia, where adventure meets tranquility. With Enjoy, you have access to a wide range of accommodations to suit every traveler's taste and budget. Experience the finest dining and hospitality Namibia has to offer. Booking your dream accommodation is just a few clicks away with Enjoy. Join thousands of happy travelers who have trusted Enjoy for their Namibian getaway. Your gateway to unforgettable Namibian adventures. Visit us today at enjoy.my.na.
Welkom terug. Hier in die hoofstad is dit 'n lekker sonnige dag. Kom ons kyk bietjie wat sê die weer vir môre. Weervoorspelling vir Vrydag, die 2 Mei. Katimamolilo 19 grade tot op 33 grade en Hanna 18 grade tot op 32 grade, Ruakana 18 grade tot op 31 grade en daar sal die son lekker skyn. Ook op Tsumeb skyn die son môre van 17 grade is die minimum en 28 grade op Omaruru 14 grade tot op 28 grade, bietjie bewolk daar. In Windhoek 11 grade, bietjie koelerig, maar tot op 23 grade seker in die middag en Gobabis is 18 grade tot op 22 grade. Dis nou vir môre. Op Henties Bay is dit van 13 grade tot op 18 grade. Walvis Bay ook van 13 tot op 20. Op Reebord is dit nog koeler in die oggend, 9 grade tot op 22 grade. Keetmanshoop ook 9 grade tot op 19 grade en op Bloedrits 13 grade tot op 27 grade. Arnhemsvlei sal dit môre sonnig wees van 8 grade, baie koel, tot op 17 grade later in die middag. Dag sê en welkom vir ons onderhoud vandag, vier ons Werkersdag. En met my in die atelier het ek die sekretaris-generaal van die Vakbondkongres van Namibië, TUCNA, meneer Mahongora Kavihuha. Welkom.
Baie dankie.
En veel geluk.
Ons probeer dit nie maar dis vandag.
Kom ons spring direk in. How would you describe the situation for workers in Namibia at the moment?
Yeah, the situation for workers in Namibia is bad and we need to start working on it, especially in light of geopolitical situations. We've seen that some workers have lost employment due to the US administrations. We have also seen that the various governments are reorganizing themselves in order to respond to the geopolitical environment, the issues of globalizations, and the issues of Africa free trade areas. Also, we need to reposition ourselves and see what can we put on the table moving forward. That's also coupled with our amendment of our national policies, being a labor act and all those kind of things. We have now also observed the new government, new dome. Let's hope that it will deliver also. And we've seen that also the cabinet becomes smaller. The parliament is a bit in power now, whether they are going to keep on work or not. And from us as a labor movement, we are looking forward to engage more with parliament, and we are looking forward also to come to us as practitioners, people that are on the ground, so that we can also fit them and what to go about it. So these are the various areas that we envisage that we need to capitalize on. Of course, the issues of high unemployment, that cannot be overemphasized. So it's very important that we have to find the economic activities that will create employment, and we're not just employment, we are looking for decent employment. Employment that will take you from a lower level to a better level, employment that can transform your household, employment that can contribute to physical, employment that can overall also, because Namibia is a high unequal society, the second high unequal in the world. Yes. So we need to tend that. But Bulgaria also upper middle income country. That tells you that some way we have a problem. Yes. And the problem of Namibia is about leadership. Not about the lack of money, lack of resources, lack of skills. It's a leadership. If we get the right leaders on the table, the whole society will transform to it.
And you mentioned that there's a theme that we are celebrating today. Could you elaborate a bit about that?
Yeah, the theme is industrialization, trade, and decent work for social transformation.
Okay.
And that's why it's very important. Industrialization is very important because we have seen that without value addition, there's nothing that you can benefit from your resources. And industrialization is one of the components that was envisioned 2030. Yes. But for the past 25 years, it has not been a rhetoric. Yes. We only left 5 years. But we haven't seen a tangible industrial revolution to take place in Namibia. Yeah. That tells you that for the next 5 years remaining, if we have to change, we need to change now.
But looking at industrialization just for a moment, I find it a little bit worrisome because when I think of industrialization, I see a factory in my head. And modern factories are dominated by automation, robots doing the work. Will there be work for us when we get there one day at an industrialized nation?
It's a very good question because you have to deal with the issues of perception, deal with the issues of fear, and also as a challenge, in the sense that there is no scientific proof to say that any industrial revolutions replace the people. Okay. Because those automations, they need to be serviced, they need to be taken care of. By whom? Yeah. Not by themselves, by a person. But only if that person is given the right skills. Which tells you, that's why the report on future of work. Yeah. There is a report produced, now it's 5 years old, maybe or more, produced on the future of work that speak to what they raising. And in prioritize 3 elements. We need to skill our people, we need to upskill our people, we need to reskill our people. If we have 3 more HRs, and now we're bringing automations, these people must be reskilled in a different industry that requires the right skills. Yes. So it's very important that now the question comes, have Namibia positioned itself in line with that report or not? Now that questions need to be answered. As far as I'm concerned, we have done little in that respect. So we need to improve on it and see how do we respond to those kind of things.
And let's move to the second part of the theme, trade. Africa's free trade zone agreement has been met. But I don't know, are workers considered in trade agreements?
That's also another very important question. For the past 4 years, as a labor movement, we have aggressively engaged in promoting the labor provisions in trade agreements. We believe that there is no trade without labor. Yes. And if you go now to all the agreements, including the one that you mentioned, they hardly have labor provisions. But of course, you draw me because I think that a month ago, the ministers that are responsible for finance, trade, and national development, they met in Addis Ababa. And in that one, I had the delegations to Addis Ababa on behalf of African trade unions. Okay. And we make sure that the ministers make commitment that ensure that Africa free trade areas, especially going through the revision now, it takes cognizance of allowing or including the labor provision. Yes. So that is a commitment. We talk to issues of social protection, we talk to the issues of rights, we talk to the issues of social dialogue, and also creations of decent employment. So these are the matters that the agreement now is going to take. And I also have to mention this. Also from the EU side, they have also have a project now that includes 4 countries where we are looking at does EPA, Economic Partnership Agreement, and any other also agreement with any African or EU member state also include the issues of labor provision. Of course, the China is still a nightmare. I don't know where are they negotiating the China-Namibia agreement, but we want all the trade agreements to talk to those kind of things. And I also need to admit here that we had a discussion with the previous Minister of Trade, my friend Lucia. And that meeting where it was attended by her in the top management, we agreed that we need to propose a member to the National Implementation Committee of after the Africa Free Trade Agreement. So trade union now, we're going to be involved in that. But I'm also telling the trade unions that it's not about the position. It's not about beyond the table. It's whether if you are on the table, you are really contributing or not. Sometimes you will be on the table and become a menu to be eaten. So it's very important that when you're on the table, you have right skills, you are able to articulate the workers' positions, you are able to lobby, you are able to even carry out your own research so that you can add value to those opportunities that you are given. So these are the things on the pipeline that we are moving towards.
Let's look at the third part of the theme, which is decent work for social transformation. Have we as Namibia made any progress? Are we better off now than we were at independence in terms of decent work?
We are not, because we have seen, based on the statistics, that the formal sector is shrinking and the informal sector is expanding. And the informal employment is characterized by precariosity. It's very precarious, job security, no social protection, all those kind of no benefits. So what does that tells you already in that regard? Not only that, also the limitations of the Labour Act to allow every trade union or every worker to enjoy the right to collective bargaining. You know what transpired now, even with the Unionist Union. I'm sure that they are not going to punish you for this one, but even with Unionist Union, how difficult you are getting just to register and also now to penetrate the employment. So now how many more workers are suffering the same way? So it's very important that we are at the edge of pushing the agenda through, but if it doesn't get there, TUCNA will not have an option but to register our cases to ILO for ILO to intervene.
Thank you very much. On that, we're going to take a short break, but please join us again. There's much more to discuss.
Irongomed is a leading distributor, working in partnership with NewMed and WestMed to meet the comprehensive needs of the Namibian healthcare sector. As a partner pursuing sustainable global healthcare, we offer industry-leading medical solutions through our key focus areas, which include pharmaceuticals, orthopedics, ophthalmology, surgical devices and capital equipment, as well as a well-established scientific laboratory division. In healthcare, Irongomed is committed to making a difference. What about you?
Welkom terug. Ons is nog bezig met ons gesprek met meneer Mahongora Kavihuha. Hij is die sekretaris-generaal van die Vakbondkongres van Namibië, TUCNA. So we were just discussing about representation, trade unions, need to represent employees. We've got a system here in Namibia, the tripartite system, which requires that the government, employers, and unions must communicate. But in that system, it doesn't specifically make room for individual workers. Can you tell us, is it working? How is the system being implemented, and is it beneficial?
Yeah, I think that the system itself is in terms of the Labour Act and also in terms of the ILO Convention 144, which encourages the issues of social dialogue. And tripartism is, in fact, is a means for realization of social dialogue, where you bring those three parties so that they play a role, because employers are the ones that are working the employees are the ones working for the employer, and the government is there to ensure that there is a harmonious relationship and the environment is conducive. That's why these three parties are very important on the table. However, it also doesn't end there, it also plus any other interested party can come on board.
Okay.
But for the workers, they are represented by the trade unions, and that's why trade unions have intensified their rollout to ensure that every worker who's not even a member of the trade union have access to them and their needs are taken on board.
And how difficult is that? I mean, I imagine that employers would not be too eager to allow trade unions into their businesses. There are many employees here in Namibia who are not represented.
Yeah, I think that more than 80% of the employees in Namibia are represented by the trade union, which is violations of the same convention, one of the conventions, fundamental convention of ILO that we ratified, C98, which gives the rights to collective bargaining. So most of the workers in Namibia, they are not enjoying that right. Why? Because of the threshold, the nitty-gritty things. You should have 50 plus 1%, all those nonsense. So we say that when you're giving the right should be unconditional.
Yes.
Why should you give the right to someone and you put conditions? And by the process of that one, you're compromising the right of that person to enjoy the same right that you have given the person to do. So it's very important that Namibian workers are very suffering, and we are fighting very hard to remove that threshold. A trade union that exists at the workplace must be allowed to bargain with all the workers, irrespective of the threshold. Where there are more than one trade union, those trade unions should be facilitated to form what we call a bargaining council. Okay. So that we minimize the infight among the trade union, because the more the trade union are fighting, the more the third dog take a bone, which is the employer now enjoying clapping hands and enjoying the gain of the trade union fighting. So equally the employer, because the government is an employer as well. So they are also benefiting from these kind of things, where they take some unions who are darling to them and they push the other unions who are critical to them, and all those kind of things. So we need to see how do we come up with a system that is more inclusive but will benefit the workers.
Excellent. Recently there was a big meeting of African trade unions here in Bantu. Can you tell us a bit more about that? What was the meeting about?
Yeah, the meeting was organized by Trade Union Congress of Namibië, TUCNA, on behalf of the African Organization Trade Union of ITUC. ITUC Africa, we call that way. We are members of ITUC Africa.
ITUC is?
International Trade Union Confederation, Africa Office. Okay. We are members of ITUC, and ITUC mandated its affiliate in Namibia, which is TUCNA, to organize that meeting. The meeting has two folds. We're looking at the agenda point for the upcoming International Labour Conference that is coming from the 2nd to the 14th of June in Switzerland. The second one was also putting countries in various risks, because we have a system in ILO where there is a violation of worker rights. Either party can launch the complaint to ILO. So now we're looking at the countries that are going to be forming part of the agenda this year, and we place them how should they be discussed from the trade union perspective of Africa. So the one that we put on the top of agenda was Nigeria and Liberia, because they were violating C87, which is the right to freedom of association. So also in Southern Africa we have Eswatini, Zimbabwe, all those kind of things, but we place them that one. The other component, or the first one that I referred to, we have a topic on the informality, how to formalize it. We have a topic on platform workers, and many other topics that we are going to discuss around.
What are platform workers?
Platform workers are those workers that we are now seeing on a daily basis, like workers working at call centers. You see, talk to someone here, answer, but if you ask the person who's your employer, doesn't even know. The issue
like Yango.
Like Yango, then all those kind of things. So these people, they need to start we look after in terms of their rights to organize, in terms of enjoying social protections, in terms also to enjoy the social dialogue, especially when it comes to bargaining. So it's very important that we look at these aspects. And also now the new definition. What is a workplace? If you are working from your bedroom, is that become your new workplace definition? Or only when I come to the employer workplace? So the working environment is transforming itself very fast. And that's why we need to adjust to those kind of things in order to respond to it, so that the workers don't become a victim in the process. But we continue fighting for them.
And in terms of the outcome of the meetings, you guys agreed on a common stance. What does Africa want to achieve at the International Labour Organization meeting later.
Yeah, of course we agree on the position.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to platform workers, we agree on positions to informality, but then we are given a task force because I don't work on trumpetism.
Okay.
From there, we're given a task that we need to feedback before June, where we have to engage our government now, because the governments are also going there.
Yes.
In our position, we have to engage our employers also now. Luckily, we invited our employer in Namibia to be at the official opening of the meeting, okay. So they are aware with the positions that we have taken. So now we are each trade union, when we go back home, we have to go engage with our various social partners.
Yes.
So then, on the first, the African Labour Group, we're going to meet again, where we are going to take stock and say that now what approach can we, maybe I can also be given a different African country to go and talk to the government and say that how to go about this one and to communicate our position as a labour movement.
Just to bring us to a close for the interview, can you speak directly to Namibian workers and give a little message, maybe if you have hope to share, if you have any warnings that individual workers should be careful of, and what would you advise for Namibian workers in general? What must we ensure that we do?
One thing that I should advise the Namibian workers is that business have capital power.
Yes.
Government have policy power.
Yes.
What power does the worker have?
I don't know. So what power do we have?
It's your unity.
Uh-huh.
Your unity that you have is to belong to a trade union, and united you will never be defeated.
I see.
So it's very important that those that are hesitant to belong to a trade union, in fact you are hesitant to your livelihood. So that should change. And the trade union have started long. Why? Those four fathers have started trade unions. What was the purpose? It's because when workers stand alone, you can be blown by even a little wind away. But if we stand together, we are moving. And unity, within the unity, no one says that there is hallelujah in the unity, but we have to work towards it. There are many achievement trade unions in Namibia have achieved, and also many failures. Yes. But we don't concentrate on the failures mainly. Let's concentrate on the achievement, and with this unity and this understanding, you will realize that we will move forward. So we know that the government and the employers, they are hesitant to support trade unions, or even victimizing those workers that belong to a trade union. We know that. Yes. And just sit, take 1 second and think, why should the employer be against a trade union if a trade union is useless? Understand? Yes. They realize the power of trade unions. They realize the power lies in unity. That's why they don't want the workers to be united. And if you allow that one, then you are giving a credit to brutalize you, you are giving a credit to misuse you, and you are giving a credit for them to capitalize their profit on your expenses. Yes. So it's very important that we stand together, we move forward, and we fight for the policies that are favoring the livelihood of masses.
Baie dankie, baie dankie. Daar het hulle nog gehoor, die belangrike ding is eenheid, daar is mag en eenheid, so kom ons staan saam en werk vir 'n beter toekoms. Baie dankie.